my goodness. Thank you. Thanks, Ed, for that very, very kind introduction. Whenever I have classmates of mine from West Point and I get introduced as graduating #1 in our class, I can watch my classmates roll their eyes. It's like, dude, do something for us. Like, you've been riding that horse for 40 years. I also get introduced as the 70th Secretary of State. That always reminds me that Donald Trump was the 45th president. So there was a lot more turnover in my gig than his. And every morning I would check my phone to make sure that it wasn't my day. Hey, you laugh. 5 secretaries of defense, 4 national security advisors, just me. Look, we were a unique administration. I mean that in the best sense. No, I mean that, right? I ran a machine shop in Wichita, Kansas. Name the last Secretary of State that ran a machine shop. Thomas Jefferson, right? It just doesn't happen often. And we brought amazing people into the organization, folks like Ambassador McMullen. He embodied what was the best about America every day. I could see it, I could feel it. And you all in Switzerland, and you all who did business and from America to Switzerland could feel it as well. He put more miles on his car, he worked harder to do what's really important, which is to make sure that our business communities are delivering on behalf of our peoples. And Ed, I can't thank you enough for all the hard work you did on behalf of the United States of America and to build this relationship. I'm also mindful that there were several articles that described me as the worst Secretary of State in history. My son, the second time it happened, it was Washington Post, big type, and he called me and said, "Dad, did you see the Washington Post today?" And I said, "No, son, I stopped reading it. My cardiologist made me stop." And he said, "Well, they said you were the worst Secretary of State of all time, and the New York Times said it the day before, and I just wanted to make sure you were okay." And I said, "Son, I'm fine." He said, "Yeah, I did some research, Dad. There's this guy named Elihu Washburn, and he was the Secretary of State, and he only lasted 11 days. Surely you're better than him." So we started a club called We're Number 2. It was an incredible privilege to serve the United States. Some of you tonight said, "I'll bet you're glad to be out of the fire, out of the fight, out of the pressure." There's some truth to that. Truth is, though, more than that, I truly wish I was there still. I wish I was there still because who gets the chance to serve in this way for this amazing country, to work with great partners all across the world, importantly countries with democracies that value the rule of law and property and democracy in the way that Switzerland does. And then after that, you get a chance to come to this beautiful place to be with some amazing people who are fighting that same fight every day. It was the opportunity of a lifetime, and I pray that we will all get a chance to restore what it was that I believe we had. And the good news tonight is I get to be unvarnished. When I was a Secretary of State, I was a diplomat. Tonight, I'm Mike Pompeo unplugged. So I get to tell you the things I'm really thinking. And I have 4 ideas, and then we'll take some questions and have a conversations as well. If you look at our idea, the idea that President Trump presented, right? He described it as America first. And we were critiqued for that. There were those in Europe that didn't like it. There were those in other places that didn't like it. They thought that somehow that meant America alone. But those of you who watched the way we dealt with Switzerland know that it was anything but that. What it meant was that we understood the central premise. If we didn't have it right at home, if we didn't have a strong America, a robust America, a capable America, America prepared to lead on the world stage, and importantly, an American economy that could deliver good outcomes for our people and for our partner countries around the world, then the world would be a less better place, and the American people would be worse off for that as well. And so it was certainly about putting America first. That's who I swore to defend against enemies, foreign and domestic. But it was more than that. It was about the central understanding that says if we get this right at home and find good friends like Switzerland around the world, then we can collectively do amazing things for our people, for the people of Switzerland, and in fact for people all across the world. I saw that firsthand when I was a CIA director. I had great friends and partners in my intelligence counterparts in Switzerland. An amazing service, a small service, but a powerful and important partner for the Central Intelligence Agency. And then I saw it too with my counterparts as foreign minister, now president, right? By the way, I didn't note that he could be foreign minister and then president. It's possible to do. Yeah, you should laugh. We were working diligently to find nations like Switzerland who were prepared to take on some of the most difficult challenges in the world and help us thoughtfully address how to respond to them. Whether it was our efforts to create more stability in the Middle East, seems like so long ago that ISIS was running a caliphate that controlled real estate the size of the United Kingdom, and we worked with friends, right? A neutral state, a properly neutral state like Switzerland, still provided the kinds of assistance that America truly needed to deliver on that important mission. And then as the Iranians began to cause trouble for the United States and for Europe and for other states in the region, I can't tell you how many times the Swiss provided their good offices to help me and my team, both at the State Department and the CIA, resolve very difficult problems. And so all of those of you, we have consul generals here tonight, those of you who have provided those good offices, who helped me accomplish one of my proudest moments, bringing 2 Americans home from Iran. Bless you and thank you for what you did for our country and for our people. I'll never forget the night that the president made the decision and we ultimately took the strike that killed the RGC commander Qasem Soleimani. Yes, my security team is here to remind me of that very fact. But more importantly, I mention this because in that event, it was really important, right? The risk was that we would create World War III, that Iran would respond in a way that created enormous risk. And you should know that the team in Switzerland was an important part of helping us communicate that night with the Iranians to make clear what we were doing, what we weren't doing, why we did what we did, and why we did not intend to do anything else. And that communication, in an instant, I am convinced, reduced the risk to the United States of America, our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines all across the world. And I am so thankful for what the Swiss Consular Services team and the Swiss diplomatic teams did for the United States on that really important evening. Look, but most of all, we just wanted to make money with you, right? Most of all, we wanted to build out what is truly the connective tissue between our 2 countries. It's what this foundation is designed to do, right? To bring business leaders together to increase value, to increase prosperity for people of each of our 2 countries. And we did that in enormous ways. Our ambassador was on the ground working it. We sent lots of teams there, and we increased foreign direct investment in the United States by a staggering amount during our 4 years. Thank you all for doing that. I am hopeful and optimistic that these last 2 weeks haven't wiped out all of the wealth that you created in the 4 years that we were there. It has been a tough 14 days. And maybe I'll close with this. I had the incredible privilege to travel to Switzerland during my time as Secretary of State. I got a chance to meet a lot of people, some ordinary people, some seniors, some elected officials, some business people. What I saw there was a set of shared values. And as we thought about our place in the world, America's place in the world, I could see that the tradition and history of Switzerland closely mirrored the way we thought about our place in the world. And it is indeed that value set that drives forward this relationship. Look, we've seen a change. Ed's successor is a radically different person than Ed. And I don't mean to be political, but this matters to me. This matters to my son, and someday I pray that we have grandchildren. It is critical that across administrations, this relationship is not allowed to founder or falter on some false idea about how America should be represented across the world. I am confident that we had it right. The way to represent America is to make sure that the people in nations, whether it's Switzerland or any of our other democratic allies across the world, is to make sure that they understand that we are there for them and we are counting on them as well, and that we will be honest and truthful, and the things that matter to them matter to us because they matter to them, and that we will account for their nature. We will account for their decency. When a country like Switzerland says we have an important role as a neutral nation to play, we will honor that, and we will come to understand that this too benefits my son and our grandchildren. We recognize in a deep and fundamental way, and it was powerful, and it was a powerful reinforcing capability that the United States came to know that we could count and depend on. We've watched these last 16 months. America has absolutely changed its footprint in the world. I don't mean that as a political matter. I mean it simply as something that is observationally accurate. And while many of you can't say that, I can. It's important to be truthful and honest about this, because the way we build our relationship forward is to do that, to build it on a foundation of something that matters, to speak truth to the things that matter most. I am not rooting against this administration. I'm rooting for them deeply to be successful. I'm rooting for them to be successful in their efforts in Ukraine. I'm rooting for them to push back against the challenges that we all collectively face, being confronted by a Chinese Communist Party that this may not translate to Switzerland, but there's an old saying from a company called Southwest Airlines that said, you are now free to move about the cabin. I fear that leaders around the world feel more free to move about the world than they did during our 4 years. This presents enormous risk to everyone in this room tonight, to our businesses, to our welfare, to our security, and to our prosperity. And I pray that America will continue to be at the vanguard of working with partners like Switzerland, to deliver on good outcomes for each of our two peoples. And with that, I'm happy to take questions on almost anything. So thank you all for having me here this evening. Yes, sir.
Mr. Secretary, my name is Roland Couton. I'm a former infantry captain.
Hoo-ah.
I would like to know if you believe that Switzerland would be well advised to join NATO.
I'll say two things. First, this is fundamentally a Swiss decision, which is that's a slippery thing that a diplomat would say. Here's what I get to say. No, I think it'd be a tragic idea. And when I say that, I think it'd be a bad idea. This is an important, unique place that Switzerland places itself, and I think that matters. And I know it benefited the United States of America during my time in service for all 4 years in each of my two roles. The capacity for Switzerland to reach out to places that a NATO-aligned country simply can't reach out to was a very useful, beneficial tool for not only the United States, but for the rest of the European countries as well. One more. Somebody? Yes, ma'am. Yes, fellow administration member. Yes. Oh my goodness. You know, there's no trite, simple answer to this. The most important things that presidents do for economies is they evince confidence and they reward risk-taking. So what does that look like, right? That looks like fewer regulations. Businesses don't feel like you're going to come take the things that they built. You're not going to make a claim that they didn't build it. You're going to honor their service. That they come to recognize that, like I ran a small machine shop in Wichita, Kansas, that entrepreneurial spirit matters an awful lot. Those animal spirits are the things that drive the decency and fundamental things that matter most in our nation. I think that's what the big government liberals across the world, not just here in the United States, fail to understand. They think they can top-down direct economic prosperity, and it's simply not possible to do. So I could tick through a handful of things, a half a dozen of them pretty quickly. The fact that we're not moving American energy around the world and we've shut it in has been cataclysmically costly to the America's prosperity, but also to the globe's security. I could tick through half a dozen things, but the most important thing a president does is direct that the United States is going to be supportive of people who want to invest here and create opportunities, recognizes property rights, wants capital to flow, all of the things to build markets that make life better. So let me close here. I tick through a handful of things that are difficult, things that are ornery, things that are dark. My wife jokes often that I'm the world's best Xanax salesman. Maybe true. But you should know that I am long on the West and on democracy and on my country and on Switzerland. I believe deeply that the ideas that we have are fundamental to humankind and will prevail. So whether confronted by all of the nastiness in the world, whether it's all these men that I was with, right? Mullah Baradar in Afghanistan, and Xi Jinping in China, and Chairman Kim in North Korea, or Vladimir Putin and the destruction, the horrors that have been inflicted on Ukraine. I am confident that the West will prevail, that ideas, that reason and enlightenment will be the dominant force for the next couple hundred years as well. And you should know that I believe that not because of me, but because of anybody who's going to serve in government, either here or in Switzerland. I believe it because of you. I believe that the fundamental decency of you all to come out on a night like this and be part of an organization like this to support the relationship between our two countries, and to meet with old friends and to build a community around a shared set of values is the one thing those bad guys can't create. They don't have evenings like this. They don't have people come together around groups like this to exchange ideas and to work and to build and to care. I'm counting on you. When you all get it right, the world will prevail and the American-Swiss relationship will continue to deepen and be stronger. Thank you. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening.